While February is looking somewhat slow for big budget blockbuster releases, there are plenty of great looking indie games expected out over the coming month. Welcome to Get Indie Gaming, where today we're taking you through 10 of the best looking indie games coming out this February 2021.
You made it!
Let's begin, and in no particular order, we have Nuts. While this is already out on Apple Arcade, it's headed to PC and the Nintendo Switch on February the 4th. From an art style perspective, we can't really recall having seen anything like this before. The same goes with its overall premise, which sees you play as a recent graduate research student, tasked with observing and researching squirrels within a forest. By day, you place your cameras about the place, and come the evening, you take to your camper van and watch the goings-on as the squirrels do their things, with you reporting your findings back to your supervisor. The tasks change from day to day, with you needing to capture certain elements of the squirrel's behaviour, and having played Nuts by way of my aging iPad, such tasks often require a little bit of thought and planning. Now, this clearly won't appeal to everybody, and it's certainly a game to settle down into and one to mull over a while. Nuts is certainly something different, and a fine little nugget of a game to kickstart this monthly rundown. Next, over at number 9, we have some good old-fashioned looking wrestling action that's billed by developer RetroSoft Studios as the official successor to the 1991 arcade game called WWF WrestleFest. Expected out towards the end of the month, with it also getting a physical release via limited run games. As you might expect, there's a story mode which is said to feature around 50 or so match variations, such as battle royales, tag team bouts, and matches within a steel cage. There's also a local multiplayer which is said to support up to 8 players, although so far we've not been able to confirm if the multiplayer extends out into an online mode. In stark contrast to recent wrestling games, this one looks unashamedly of an earlier time, and we're quite sure playing it will put us back firmly in mind of watching the WWF all the way back when on a Saturday afternoon. RetroMania Wrestling is expected out on PC via Steam, PlayStation, Switch, and the Xbox. If you are interested in that physical edition, you can find a link to the limited run store down in the video description. Up next, and out February the 15th, Paper Tanks is yet another unique looking game, with it using a hand-drawn aesthetic which borrows from consoles of old. This 2.5D tank battler features a campaign of around 30 or so levels, with it also coming with a split screen and multiplayer online mode. With 3 different tanks to choose from and plenty of options to customize them, Paper Tanks looks a casual but fun experience, with it expected out on PCs via Steam. Coming up next, and at number 7, something we totally missed over the course of its development, with a viewer tipping us off to go check it out. Another game in this month's rundown that's unashamedly retro. The gameplay and overall perspective flip and change every 2 stages, with you moving from slower modes of transport, such as a passenger train, to a sports car, and all the way up to a fighter jet. As the speed ramps up, so does the difficulty, in what others around the internet are calling out as being a supreme challenge that takes how hard it is right up to those older games some of you may remember from the days of the NES or Genesis consoles. The pixel art has all been hand-drawn frame by frame, and we're super fans of how the game switches up its mechanics, with it moving from a side-scroller to a top-down battler and 4 other different retro-inspired genres. Speed Limit comes out on PC and all of the usual consoles this February 16th.
Many years ago, a fierce battle ended the pirates' supremacy.
Moving onwards to number 6, and speaking of procedural generation, King of Seas is looking to make a name for itself amongst the relative glut of such games of recent times. Truth be told, as a small collective, we've spent plenty of time over lockdown playing Sea of Thieves, and it may very well prove a tough ask for this game to do more than tread water within what's a saturated genre. That being said, where the game is looking to differentiate itself is by way of it being more and having, well, more of an action RPG element to it. Rather than just having you play as a sole pirate, here you're seemingly taking up a leadership role that will see you tackle the high seas of this dynamic world that's persistent, with your actions impacting how the world responds to your playstyle. There's also said to be an engaging story and overall plot, which could help Kings of Sea stand up just that little bit higher than all the other pirate games looking for your attention in early 2021. Expected out on PC via Steam, the Switch, PlayStation and Xbox on February the 18th. Up next, and at number 5, who doesn't like a game offering up a nod to many things Zelda? And if that's you, then you're probably going to want to take a further look at Rogue Heroes Ruins of Tasos ASAP. Here we have a top-down action exploration hackathon with a slight bit of puzzling here and there. We spent a good number of hours over the weekend just gone with the demo, which puts us in a good vibe for this one's release, which is slated to happen this coming February the 23rd. With its support for up to 4 players in online and local co-op, this classic-looking adventure with a few roguelike elements here and there is likely to get plenty of playtime over the next few weeks here at the Get Indie Gaming household. This one's expected out first onto PC by way of Steam, and also onto the Nintendo Switch. Next, over at number 4, we have Blue Fire, which launches super early in the month on February the 4th. Now, what we're most attracted to and looking forward to the most is what seems to be some of the most fun-looking platforming we've seen within a game in ages, with the 3D aspect all looking really rather pleasing. And as we like to say in commenting about such games, well, it does just look really rather crisp. Then there's the combat, which also looks a little bit similar to Nier Automata, which is no bad thing. Then we have the collectibles and all sorts of quests and adventures to also look forward to. Blue Fire is coming out to the PC by way of Steam, and again onto the Nintendo Switch. At number 3, and something that looks deliciously broody and dark, Tartopolis is an open-world RPG Metroidvania where you play as Richard Bohr, a private detective, as you go about solving crimes and cases in what the developers call a huge metropolis full of dark corners, shady characters, and aware technologies. The metropolis is all governed by something that's called the Hive, that's able to control the consciousness of the citizens by way of propaganda and the fear of terror. Said to offer up a deep RPG system, Tartopolis also seems to have a compelling storyline where you're also able to form relationships with the city's NPCs, merchants, and even its self-aware technologies. This one's coming to Steam and the Nintendo Switch on February the 12th. At number 2, and expected out in early access, 30XX is the sequel and follow-up to the indie game delight that is 20XX. This time, however, the game takes place 1,000 years after the previous adventure, which is perhaps of no real consequence, and yet still, who doesn't fancy another dose of something that's so very Mega Man, with a few modern twists and takes here and there? Well, we certainly do. In any case, while the full release is expected before the end of the year, there seems plenty going on here to keep us busy with the local and online multiplayer modes, with it also having a level editor, which is a great touch for those who like to build their own stages, and for folks like us who like to sit back and watch what other people's imaginations are capable of producing. 30XX drops this coming February 17th. At number 1, and we suspect a surprise to few folks out there already aware of its launch, Curse of the Dead Gods is coming out of early access on February the 23rd. Now this was one of, if not perhaps the best hidden gem while out in early access of last year, with it being an isometric roguelike dungeon crawler. Now yes, These kind of games have been to a penny over the past handful of years, so what sets this apart? Well, for us, we're not thinking it might topple Hades from its mantle, and yet if the developers have been able to build upon the intensity of the combat, and in the overall use of the different curses and mythical relics that can aid or hinder each run, well, this might just be something so very special. There's also the visuals and sound, which so far, well, it really does all look quite the compelling offering. Curse of the Dead Gods is one of our most wanted games of the whole first half of 2021, and we're honestly so very excited to see where it stands up against the other greats of the genre, with it coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and the Nintendo Switch. So those are the 10 games out in February 2021 we most want to get hold of. Many thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please help us out by clicking the like button, and as we get close to the silver play button for having 100,000 subscribers, please consider subscribing to the channel if you've yet to do so. As always, many thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again here soon for more indie game videos.